Welcome back to Power CEOs Truth Behind the Business. If you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to nowmedia.tv, click on shows, go to Power CEOs and catch the first half of today's episode. It was epic. We dove deep into AI and everything you need to know regarding AI literacy and ethical utilization. We are now going to shift gears. And you have written to me, you have asked, I am answering. You've got questions. You're wanting to partner with private equity. You're wanting to know what questions to ask. I've brought you the perfect person to chat about this. Alice Chen, partner at Pender Hastings Capital, is all things living the PE life now. But she has a legal background and she was an entrepreneur with multiple companies. So she is the perfect person to ask as someone who is a founder who has had exits, as well as somebody who is playing on the capital side. Welcome, Alice, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jen. A pleasure.
Alice, you've sat on all sides of the table. You've got a legal background, you're a founder, you're an investor, now you're a partner. Let's break down what most founders don't know to ask about private equity partnerships because you have seen it all.
Yes, yeah, let's unpack that. I mean, selecting the perfect private equity partner is like selecting your partner in marriage. It's a big deal, So you want to really give yourself the time to meet as many parties as possible. So what you're asking yourself is what do they bring besides capital, right? There's a lot of dry powder out there wanting to invest in really valuable companies. So if you're a founder that's built an amazing company with great enterprise value, what you want to ask is, okay, how are you going to treat my company, right? Because your company is your baby. And what are we going to do together? What are the synergies? What can we co-create together, right? So sometimes private equity firms are acquiring your company as part of an acquisition platform. So if it's a platform acquisition, they're looking to combine what you have built with other complementary companies in a vertical or in an ecosystem. So I think what you want to know as a founder is, well, first of all, is it going to be a complete exit or is it going to be a partial exit? If it's going to be a partial exit, or if you have terms like earnout, if you have terms like performance and those kind of variables, then you want to understand, well, what is it that you bring to the table as a capital partner, right? Besides the capital. So what kind of value can you add to this that I've created? How can we co-create something that's more than, like that's more than the individual components. So I think those are the questions you want to ask.
Are there any red flags for founders? Because right now we're seeing you're right, we have a ton of dry powder. There's a lot of roll up activity happening. Are there any red flags that founders should be watching for in term sheets or in these conversations?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of these kind of technical issues, there's a lot of available resources out there. If you just even type in GPT, I'm looking to sell my company of this industry or this type to these type of private equity players. What are the due diligence questions as a founder I should ask, right? So those are the technical questions that are pretty readily available for you to look at. But I think what I want to suggest is that you want to look for an alignment, right? So especially if it's going to be a partial exit, then or a growth capital that you're taking in, that's going to be a big chunk, and they're going to have controlling interest, or they're going to have a lot of influence over how you're going to continue to grow the company. Then you want to look for alignment. Do you have values alignment? Do you have work style alignment, right? Do you actually like these people? Right? They're going to ask the same things of you. So it's like a dating process. So you want to make sure that you can see yourself working together synergistically in a pleasant style, in a pleasant co-creation type of situation for the next, I don't know, 5 years, maybe longer than that, right? So these are the type of questions. They're common sense, but a lot of people, they focus on all the technical stuff, but they ignore these kind of fundamental pillars, which I think make or break a relationship and a PE investment.
Oh, absolutely. And we know that, the greatest businesses in the world can falter because of poor partnership. And the partnership's almost always because of people. when they have those challenges. And so I'm going to ask you, because you've exited, you've gone through the process, you've worn that founder hat a few times. What was your biggest mistake, and what lesson did it give you that you now bring into everything that you do?
Yeah, so I think I learned the hard lessons that I was just talking about. In my early days, as a startup founder, you're looking for partnerships that complement your skills. So instead of hiring, because maybe as a startup you don't have ample funding, so you're trying to hack around that by being in a partnership. So I actually personally went through some painful lessons of misalignment in partnerships that kind of didn't end so well. So I would say that is like the first and foremost thing that you have to make sure that your goals are aligned, your values are aligned, your work styles are similar, your communication style or skill sets are complementary and similar. So I think those are very fundamental things that you just simply can't ignore.
So I'm gonna address the elephant in the room, right? We have a very extensive audience, and you are a very strong, powerful female, and you have no problem talking about these things. However, women in general in the founder space are really hesitant to talk about money openly in peer circles that are co-ed, or even in all women circles. And we have a lot harder time gaining capital or pitching investors, especially. What advice would you give to female founders so that they can start to normalize these conversations, get comfortable with them? Maybe it's a mindset shift, but what can female founders do to elevate their, I don't want to say financial literacy, because I don't know that it's financial literacy, but their ability, their confidence in the boardroom and beyond, and especially when pitching investors?
Yes, that's a great question, Jen. I think there's a couple layers to it. So the first layer, I think it may just be a matter of understanding the language of the industry. So the language of fundraising, right? So that's just a matter of putting yourself in situations where those conversations are ample and every day, right? So start to listen to podcasts that focuses exactly on talking about money or talking about fundraising. Start attending conferences that help female founders raise money, right? Or talk about money. I'm seeing a lot of this type of movement. So, for example, I love your channel and I love your show because you're leading us in this movement. So we very much appreciate that. I just spoke at this conference called the Women and Wealth Catalyst Summit at the Golden Gate Club in California. They just did one in New York as well. So this is organized by a fellow EO member, Shama Bunton, out of San Francisco. So she is also an example of a woman that recognizes this exact problem and is doing something about it and trying to bring all the founders and all the VCs and all the fund managers into one room so the conversations can be had and can be normalized. So I think it's really just like learning a foreign language. Finance is really just language. So a lot of like learning a new language is about immersing yourself in an environment, right? So if you don't know Japanese, but you want to go to Japan and you want to have a good time at vacationing in Japan, well, what are you gonna do? You're gonna just get yourself there, and then you're gonna like you can learn some Japanese on Duolingo before your trip, but really where you're really going to learn Japanese is by putting yourself into that situation, right? So I've kind of done that actually in Japan and also in Quebec. So I'm Canadian, and we have a government program that puts Anglophone kids into francophone environments and vice versa. So it's the same thing. So find environments where it forces you to have these conversations. Put yourself in there. Before you do that, to help yourself gain more confidence, sure, listen to more podcasts, talk to people that seem to know something about finance that you don't, right? Just there's so much content out there to digest. Like even every day on Instagram, I see so much stuff. There's a lot of influencers like Mrs. Dow Jones. There's Vivian too, your rich BFF. There's so many, like even Instagram influencers that's teaching this stuff. So just really put yourself into these conversations, and that's how you're going to normalize it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I wanted to just just congratulate you for being a part of the movement and for sharing this too. So, folks, if you're listening and you're female and you're not comfortable in the money conversation, you have to force it. Put yourself in the rooms that you feel that are a little outside of your comfort zone, because that's where we learn and that's where we grow. And don't be afraid to reach out to other strong female founders. It's really actually kind of easy to lean in if you're going to some of these conferences that are designed for that mentorship and for that growth, to meet with some of the other people who are maybe a couple steps ahead of you. And it's a great another great way of doing this. I really appreciate that. We have about a minute before we have to break, so I really wanted to just kind of wrap up and ask you, is there anything else that you really want entrepreneurs, founders, and or female founders to take away from this particular part of our conversation, where we kind of demystify capital and get comfortable with that financial conversation?
Yeah, I will say this one thing. So it doesn't matter if you're a female or you're this or that. Like, I personally see all these attributes just as marketing attributes, right? So you are your best marketer. It's your job to learn how to market these attributes, right? So capital loves one thing. Capital loves value creation. So focus on value creation and capital will flow to you. So it doesn't matter, who you are, what you are, all these different marketing attributes. You have to create something that's of so much value, and I guarantee you capital will flow to you. That's how capital works.
Fantastic. I couldn't have said it better. You heard it from the expert, folks. We do have to take a brief break, but we are going to dive deeper into what's shifting in the PE landscape and more after these important messages.